Hi beauty fam, welcome back to MikiCarrBeauty. Today I am going to try on some new Christian Louboutin liquid foundations that I just got in the mail. I have one more shade coming. I actually got two shades and accidentally bought the one that I didn't need. And so if you're interested in seeing me swatch and try on the Christian Louboutin new liquid foundation, then keep watching. Remember to subscribe, comment, and like on my channel, helps out engagement. And with that out of the way, let's begin. So these foundations by Christian Louboutin, which is a French Parisian house known for its iconic red sole shoes, just came out in the past couple weeks. These just became available through Nordstrom's and I believe Neiman Marcus. I ended up picking up two shades. One was actually a mistake, so I actually went back and bought the one that I actually wanted, and so I actually am stuck with three. I'll likely return the one that was a mistake, but I'll show it to you today. These are retailing $77, so it's definitely on the higher end. It comes in the standard 30 mils or 1 fluid ounce, and according to the packaging, these are made in Italy, even though this isn't a French brand. 12-month shelf life, long wear flawless foundation infused with amethyst, breathable, high coverage, luminous matte fish, 24-hour comfort. A matte liquid foundation that slips effortlessly on. A light veil that brings breathable, buildable, perfect, flawless comfort and high coverage. Up to 24 hours of comfort, no transfer wear, and a luminous matte finish. This liquid foundation unifies and illuminates with sublimating, breathable, high coverage. It minimizes the appearance of pores, smooths and softens the complexion, and leaves the skin feeling moisturized. The texture is long-lasting without drying, and it feels comfortable after application thanks to immediate hydration. The formula is vegan and infused with Dermaglam Complex, which I have no idea what that is. That's probably a trademark thing that they have, and concentrated of precious skin-loving ingredients that actively care for skin. On the website, they do have a chart, and I'll put it here. I'll move over here. And this is how I ended up picking the two shades that I wanted. They have cool, neutral, and warm undertones. And I actually have a review of what they call the balm tint, or just the compact foundation, and I'll put that review of that Louboutin. It's a foundation that's kind of like a cream to powder. It reminds me of the MAC Cosmetics Studio Fix products that we saw like many years ago. And I did a review of that foundation. I ended up picking up 40 NW, neutral warm, and it was just an okay foundation. What I didn't like about that foundation is that it just sat on my face. And for the price, it wasn't anything remarkable. I think there are certainly other foundations that were actually better performing that were the same price range or cheaper. So I did not like that foundation. So we'll see if this liquid foundation is any better. And in that category, it's a pretty large swath, and I'll do a big kind of a close-up of here. Since I'm 40 NW in that kind of cream foundation, I have a choice of, I think, up to 5 foundations that I fall into this category for this liquid foundation. So I can go 35 NO neutral olive, 35 W warm, 40 neutral, 40 WO warm olive, and 40 warm. I have an olive undertone, so I ended up picking up 35 NO neutral olive and 40 WO warm olive. I must have pressed the button wrong. I actually ended up getting the 40N, which was a mistake, but I did get the 35NW in the mail. So this is what the packaging looks like. It's the ubiquitous kind of hot red heel, bottom of the heel they have. This is a very luxurious packaging. And in my review, if you want to check it out, I'll put it up here again. I do like that packaging for that cushion foundation was glorious, and packaging alone isn't enough to wow me. Like, I can give kudos to beautiful packaging and presentation, but if the product's just not good, it's just not good. I mean, it was just okay. It wasn't terrible. So in terms of packaging, Louboutin gets it like it just hits it out of the park. So this is what this packaging looks like. It is glorious. It is beautiful. It's a glass bottle, so luxe. So this is 35 NO, 35 neutral olive. So beautiful. And I'm filming in natural lighting. I don't have any studio lighting on, just the window. And I just want to show you what the packaging looks like. So that opens up, super luxe. And I accidentally bought 40 neutral. And what I meant to get was the 40 warm olive because I definitely got more tan on my vacation. This is 35 NW and this is 40 N. So we'll see. I mean, they look really similar on the bottle. The 40 definitely looks a shade warmer. I would say this was kind of hard. This was hard to find the right shade. So love the packaging. Their logo's here. Again, made in Italy. This is so ornate, so beautiful. It's definitely a heavy glass bottle, what I would expect for a $77 foundation. And it is plastic, but it looks pretty luxe. It's got the studs here, which we know for Louboutin. They have with their shoes, they have the studs, but not as spiky. They have this kind of, I would call it like the crown. I love it. It's like Art Deco. It's gorgeous. The packaging is just A++. Bottles heavy. This is what I think about like what luxury packaging should be. I'm just gonna do that on my hand. And my hands are deeper than my face just because I wasn't as diligent putting SPF on my hands. So this is 35 NO neutral olive, which is exciting for those of folks who have olive undertone. I know it's super hard for you all to get true olives, so I think that's going to be too light, but we'll do a test on my face. And this is 40 N, 40 neutral, and I still think this is going to be too light. I think I need something warm, olive, because I have a warm undertone. So this is 40 N. It's so similar. It's so hard to tell. I think, yeah, this one, the NO, it just has a little bit slightly more green to it. Can you see the difference? 40 N and then 35 NO. It's really splitting hairs. Okay, so what we'll do is, again, I'll try these on my face right now for a wear test so you can see, and we'll just try to do a shade match here. And it's hard always with me. If you're new to my channel, welcome to MikiCarrBeauty. I have aging skin, rosacea, wrinkles, eczema on my face, and you can see I have rosacea patches. So sometimes it's really hard to shade match because a lot of people do these like stripes here and they try to make it blend into the skin, but I have like rosacea that kind of throws everything off, being red faced here and here, and I often have 2 or 3 different tones on my face. It definitely has a scent, so if you're bothered by scent you might not like this. Actually, it's very perfuming. I do not like scent, but we're gonna try it out. I'm not familiar with Louboutin and their perfume if they have any, but definitely has a 35 NO first, and I'm just going to put it on my hand here. Do this 35 NW, very neutral olive. So if you're lighter than me and run olive, this might be a good shade match for you. And then I'm using my other finger. This is 40 N, and I'm going to do this. Get me getting closer for you. Okay, so I actually think, let me see if I can blend it in a little bit. Okay, I think the 40, this one, it's so hard to say. I think this might be a better shade match, and I'm going to clean up my face and then put it on with some primer underneath. So I grabbed my kind of tried and true Tatcha liquid canvas primer. Love this primer so much. Just makes everything look silky. I don't know, it might be a little bit too much because this is already a matte foundation, but we'll just test it out. And right now it's kind of hard to shade match my face to my body. I did go on vacation and the rest of my body is very warm, as you can see, but I was diligent on wearing a hat and putting SPF on my face. So naturally, because I put SPF and the skincare products, it's actually lighter, but I want to match as much as I can to my neck so it doesn't look weird. Okay, so I'm going to shake 40 N, and this is what it looks like. I think I could definitely benefit for something warmer, but we'll see. And I like to just put it on my face to see how it's going on and reacting. It seems pretty full coverage. We'll see. Okay, I don't want to put too much more because it might end up being too much. So let me just start with that. I'm using my Kyoto Fupa brush. Yeah, it's definitely too light. I think I feel like I'm a bit like what I call like ET, where it looks too like much like a mask. This is too olive for me, and this is what happens like when I start to get a tan. I need to really start moving towards like the warm goldy kind of colors. So I think what will happen is that that 40 warm olive will probably be good, be a better match. But for science today, I'll show you what 40N looks like, because there are people I'm sure who watch my channel who are definitely fairer than me, but medium tan. Okay, so I would say if you're lighter than me or run more neutral, go get 40 neutral or 40 or 35 NO. I think when I get 40 warm olive, that might be a better shade match. So, you know, when I have things like this, what I do is just go back and warm up my face. So the scent, and this is how much I have left. So this is definitely a buildable medium to full coverage. It's pretty full coverage. I didn't use all of that pump, and I actually had a zit starting here. What I do notice right away is that even though I'd put primer here, the foundation is kind of sitting in the wells of my pores here, which is kind of a tell to me that it's just an okay foundation, or just the formula is not like perfect for me. Like my perfect formulas, foundations that like don't show the welling here, that's a tell for me that it's a good foundation, but it's not necessarily a deal breaker. Okay, so I'm gonna go in as kind of spot treat a little bit of my redness that I have here of a zit coming in, and then spot treat this area here. I think there's about 28 shades. What I would say is that I don't think their shade range is all that great in diversity. Like there's a lot of light medium, but not a lot of like tan to deeper. Like there's like a few spatterings in between. So I think they could do better in that respect. But their undertones, like they're getting, because I think they knew that someone like me might need a warmer undertone. Let me step back here so a little bit. I mean, I can pass with this, but it's just too pale and neutral for me. Okay, so I'm back after I did my corrector and concealer. I used that Becca Cosmetics corrector, and then I'm using the Fenty or Even concealer in 300N. I do think it's a smidge too light. I think I need something a little bit warmer and peachier, so I'm going to go back and get 310 or 315. But so far, I'm really loving this concealer. I think it's so thin. It's really, really lightweight. It's like my favorite concealer I've tried in probably in the past 12 months. So if that says something, I think if you're interested in trying it out, go ahead. And then on top, I put some of the Huda Beauty Peach Pie Bake. This peach pie, this little sample, I think it's just okay. I don't think it's like an amazing powder. I'm picky about powders, just so you know, like my channels, I'm picky about makeup. I think in terms of like mass, like accessible powders, like I think it's really good. I think still my favorite is still Sisley. I think Laura Mercier, but I haven't done a full review on that powder. It's okay. It's okay. I just don't think it's great for under eye. I feel like I need a different product for my under eye because I just don't think it does a good job for under eye. That's just me. My favorite under eye is still the Pat McGrath. I did powder a little bit. It's very, very, very perfumey, and I don't like that. I don't like the perfume. It's not as bad as La Mer. I loved that La Mer liquid foundation. It's one of the most beautiful foundations to wear, but the smell never went away. This perfume is kind of like along the lines of Chanel, where it might dissipate. If you tolerate that Chanel smell, then it's okay. I'm not really familiar with Louboutin's perfume or the scent, so I have to continue wearing it to see if I can tolerate it. But as far as I can tell it's not dissipating. So there's that. I think the shade is too light. Actually, it's not this that it's too light. I think it's the undertone that's wrong. So in terms of the shade, it's okay, but the undertone being neutral, I need a warm or warm olive. So you can see where it looks what I call like the ET effect, where I feel like, or some of you just say ashy. Like I feel like I look a little too ashy and I'm not this flat neutral for my face. So I will wait for the 40 warm olive to come in, and I might test out the 35 warm olive, but it just seemed like even the 35 warm olive looked too light, but I will try it. I'm back with my finished face. What I have on my face, I finished up with the Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Cool Quad. I have a review of this, and I actually, first impressions, was not super impressed by it. And now that I'm using it in a different way, I love it. I think this is like a perfect cool tone, purpley pink palette. And what I did was just a gradation of the colors of, I didn't even use this one because it's just like not working for me. I just basically went on a gradation of this all over my lid, mobile lid, and then smoke that out. And then this is a topper. And I think it's such a beautiful Valentine's, pre-Valentine's look. Pinky purples, they're my jam. So I love that. This is Hermes bronzer, and this is the shade Cyan, using my Sonia G brush. Just wanted to warm up my face because, again, this foundation has a bit of a gray cast. Then it went into Coral. Again, this is the Chanel Le Beige Healthy Winter Glow blush on my cheeks. And then for my eyes, I just use Sicily eyeliner, the gel one, which is a little bit of purple, blue in it. And then kind of did my eyebrows really quick with Surratt. I love this eyebrow gel. It's when I'm really lazy, I don't want to fill in my eyebrows. It kind of like lifts and fills in the colors very lightly. And then mascara, as always. And then for my lips, I did a combination of two things. I used the lip treatment from Suku in shade 105. It's kind of like this limited edition pinky shimmery shade. And then over that, I used the 938 Keep Cool from the Healthy Glow Winter Glow collection. It's this, I use that as a topper a lot. It's like a shimmer mauve kind of topper that just cools down everything. So that is my finished look. So let me get in close so you can see how the foundation is looking. I do smell the perfume a little bit, but it's not as bad as before. So I got in a little closer. It's a really pretty foundation. It's definitely too neutral for me. I definitely have a gray cast, so I'm really interested to see how a warmer one will look. But I dealt with it by warming up my face with bronzer, and that's usually what I do. It's what ends up looking weird is that because I'm more tan, like the sallowness is more pronounced compared to like my neck and my arms. So it's not a perfect shade match, but I did what I did to deal with it. In terms of the performance, I think it's really nice. I definitely like this better than that compact foundation. If you don't like perfume, this might be a deal breaker for you, but it kind of dissipates, kind of similar to the Chanel. Like it kind of goes in the background, whereas the La Mer one never went away. So it's kind of somewhere between the Chanel and La Mer in terms of perfume. In terms of performance, you know, I just have this on. This is supposed to be 12-hour wear. It's definitely full coverage. It kind of reminds me of like the finish of the Chanel Ultra Le Teint. It's very, very beautiful. It helps that I put on my favorite Tatcha Silk Primer, but those two play well together. The nose thing that I was talking about earlier, it kind of dissipated. It kind of with the powders, it kind of disappeared. So it's working. I think it looks really, really pretty. And what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to do some errands, and I actually have to wear a mask for safety issues, and I don't want to get anyone sick still. So I'll be taking off my I'll be taking off my lipstick and then I just want to wear the mask, and I'll tell you how it transfers. It says it's transfer proof. I don't think it really is. And I'll kind of come back and show you how the makeup is wearing. But so far so good. I think it's really beautiful. I have red spots here and use it. A friend is kind of, you know, uninvited. You do see some of my texture, so it's not like a super full coverage foundation, but I usually don't use super full coverage. My most full coverage foundation is the Chanel Ultra Le Teint. It's somewhere below that level in terms of like the Prada foundation. That Prada is like super mattifying and almost like I would say that's probably more full coverage. So it's like somewhere below Chanel, somewhere below Prada, around probably where the Clé de Peau natural matte foundation or natural wear foundation is. Let me know what you think. I think it's really pretty so far. So I'll do a check-in later whenever I get a chance. And then I think I'm back. It's about 5 hours at night, and I'm doing a check-in. I have not touched up anything on my face except for the lipstick because I ate dinner and I was wearing a mask. And I actually just put on the new Suku Moisture Glaze lipstick in 06, this beauty right here. Love this color. It's, for me, it's kind of like my perfect brownie mauve nude. Let me look at this foundation, how it's wearing. It is definitely a really, really pretty foundation. I do notice it's lifting up a little bit on my nose, and that's always my challenge area because I have an oily T-zone. It's nothing to do with this foundation in particular. Almost every foundation I have starts to break up around the nose, and it's doing pretty well. This is supposed to be, what is this, a 12-hour foundation? 24 hours. I don't know anyone wearing 24-hour foundation unless you're doing double shifts or evening shifts. But I think this shade is actually really nice. I know it went on a little bit ashy. I think because of the natural oils in my face, it actually ended up blending really nicely. And I actually just, and when I finished the first part of the video, the 35WO arrived in the mail. So tomorrow I'm going to try 35WO and do swatches. I do like this shade. I think it's nice with my tan. I was able to bronze it up, so I think it is a nice shade match. We'll see if 35WO works better. When I'm looking at the makeup with this mirror, I'm just looking to see if it's breaking up, and usually if anywhere it will break up here because this is where my texture is, rosacea and oil. And so far, I guess it's given that it's a 24-hour foundation, it's not breaking up. I'm not going to wear this past my bedtime. I'm obviously going to clean my face, but I could definitely get away with this foundation shade. I think 40N looks really nice with my tan. I definitely think the other one, which is the 35NO neutral olive, is too olive, and that looks too pasty and pale for me, so that's a no-go. So I definitely know at least one foundation shade matches, which is 40N. Okay, that's close enough. And I do have ring light in because it's evening now, so it is a little bit brighter, but you can see how it's looking on my face, and I didn't powder it down, so I just want to show you what it looks like. Usually where it starts to break up is around here. Let me lower the ring light too because it's a little bit harsh. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm grabbing some blotting papers because this is what I like to do when I have oil on my face and I don't want to put powder on it, because powder can sometimes just add more layers of like a kind of a sheen that I don't want. There you have it. So that is like 3 oil blotting papers. It doesn't add product, and I think it looks pretty good. I have to say I like this just a smidge more than the Prada Beauty foundation. The reason why I'm saying that is that the Prada Beauty foundation has a little bit of alcohol, and that's where that fast drying comes down and it looks super mattifying. So if you have really oily skin, that Prada Beauty foundation is really great, and it's also much more full coverage. It's I would wear that for an event, but not for every day. Whereas this is kind of like an everyday beautiful foundation. Prada is definitely like full coverage. And in fact, like when I'm wearing it, I can actually see that I'm wearing foundation, if that makes sense. Whereas I think if you see me, like if we were on the street, you would just maybe think like I had a light skin tint on, or like I have really nice, naturally beautiful skin, if that makes sense. So it's almost like a soft matte natural foundation. Super impressed so far. It reminds me a lot of the Clé de Peau Natural Radiant Foundation, which is not radiant, natural foundation, which tends to be a little bit more oily. The finish of this Louboutin reminds me a little bit of the Clé de Peau Radiant Natural Foundation. And I actually think this is nicer than the Laura Mercier one that's going viral. I think that one is just okay. It's like a really nice, good, solid foundation, but there's something about this foundation that just looks kind of luminous. It looks a little bit elevated. And when I was looking at my finished makeup look in the car on the way to a meeting, I felt like I was really put together. Like, there are some foundations where when I do a finished look, I was like, oh, that's really, it's a nice look, or like it look put together. Like when I wore this, I felt like really elevated. Like I felt like, you know, like I like could have my Birkin bag. Not that I have a Birkin bag, but you know what I mean? Like I felt like really like it's a really elegant looking foundation. It's just really soft and pretty. But let me know what you think, beauty fam. I think it's really, really pretty foundation. I haven't tried too many foundations that I'm super impressed by lately. The last foundation that I was very impressed by was Prada Beauty Foundation, but that's definitely a full beat glam, like going out foundation. I don't necessarily use, I don't know how to describe it other than my preferences. I don't use this one all the time because it's very, very full coverage, and there's something about it that makes it like, it doesn't look natural on, and not in a bad way. I just like, it's like a going to an event evening foundation because it's just full coverage and it's obvious you're wearing foundation. Welcome back, beauty fam. I have the final third shade in 40 Warm Olive, and this is what it looks like. And let me show you the other two just for comparison. Bear with me. The numbers at the bottom of these are so small. Okay, so this one here is 35 Neutral Olive. This one is 40N, and this is 40 Warm Olive. And in actuality, the 40N actually looks a lot lighter than their 35 Neutral Olive. So don't go by the bottles. The bottles are almost impossible to do a shade pick. So I hope this video helps. This is 35 Neutral Olive. This one here. 40 Neutral. And then one at the end, it's 40 Warm Olive. Let me pull that around. Okay, so much warmer that I'm hoping that one works. So the one I had yesterday was this 40N. After a while it was fine. It was a little bit ashy, a little bit too gray. I think this is too olive. So I'm hoping this 40 Warm Olive will work. Actually, let me do a little bit of a swatch here so you can see. Oh, I think that's gonna be good. Okay, so let me clean this up and then I'll be back after I prime my face. I'm back. I put on the same primer I did yesterday, the Tatcha's Liquid Silk. Okay, I'm putting that one dollop. Let's see what one dollop will do. And then I'm using a different brush. I'd like to use the same one, but the other one is dirty. This is my MikiCarrBeauty 101 brush. Yesterday I used the Kyoto. And that's my regular face. It is a bit orange. You can see here where I'm a little bit more pale, but we'll see. I think the key is to see if this actually oxidizes. For me, I can deal with usually warmer foundations as long as they don't oxidize more orange. And then there's even ways around that, right? When you have like blue corrector, which I did buy recently, you just put a little bit of a blue corrector and some orange or too warm of foundations to combat it being too warm. But I think that looks really good. That's a good shade match. I think this suits me better. Okay, so what I do is I have some of this left, so I'm just gonna go in and kind of treat some areas here on my cheeks where I want a little bit more coverage. And this is just one, what do you call it? One pump. I remember yesterday I was kind of commenting that there was a little bit of like raising of or welling of the foundation here. That's not happening today. Maybe that had to do with the brush. So the coverage on the nose is great. And this is what it's looking like. Let me get in close so you can see. It looks really, really nice. Definitely a better shade match than the 40N, which is neutral. So if you're not as warm leaning as me, or you just tend to run a little bit neutral but you're similar skin tone, 40N would be your gal. 40 neutral. But if you are definitely on the warmer tone, and you can tell by when you tan up, if you get this, I almost get like an orangey undertone here, that means you're warm. And so I have warm olive, and you can see how the center of my face was a little bit paler. That's the olive part. I want to see if this can be built up. So I'm going to do like a little bit of a half pump. I definitely don't need more coverage, but I'm just doing this for science sake. I want to take some of this extra foundation and I want to put it on my challenge areas, which is like my cheek area. And what I'm curious about is I'm now using a sponge, and I'm just going to press that product in there. Okay, so far so good. I definitely like this shade better, and that is 40 Warm Olive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is okay, Beauty Fam, I'm back, and I've actually finished my eye makeup, my whole face, and the only things that are different compared to the other wear tests of 40N is that I have a different eye makeup on today, and I used a different Chanel blush. I used blush that's not coral. I'm using the Mauve Glace and then Rose Polaire from the collection. Used Rose Polaire, which is kind of more of a peachy pink, more of a pink, I would say, a cool pink for this look, because I'm using a really smoky eye look. In terms of performance, I still think it's the same. I did put a little bit more on the cheek area today. Just wanted to see how much more full coverage it could get to cover up any sort of my imperfections. And it looks really, really like chiseled. I think this is such a really beautiful foundation. I think that 40 Warm Olive is my good foundation match. If I wanted to go lighter, or if I was losing my tan, I might think about 40N, but it's the undertone is still gray and a bit ashy. So I think that one probably needs to go. I'm not going to even try the 35 Neutral Olive because it was too green and it will just make me look more pale. So if you're my skin tone or close to it and you have a warm undertone, I would say 40 Warm Olive. And I'm actually going to turn down my ring light because sometimes it can blow out how I actually look in real life. I know it's dark, but this is probably closer to like really representing my actual skin tone. Is I'm just like losing light here in the Northwest. So for filming purposes, I always have a ring light. So just want you to see how it can look a little bit different. I have to say I'm really picky about foundations. There was not very many foundations that I liked last year, and I actually still have to film my favorites of 2023. I have a list, and the spoiler alert, Prada was on that list. So I'm going to compare it to actually two of my favorites of last year. And I'm not including serum tints in this because I'm just talking about like straight foundations. Serum tints are in like their own category. So the most popular foundations from last year that I really, really actually enjoy the closest would be the Laura Mercier and then the Prada. Laura Mercier is definitely like a reliable, very nice, very good foundation. But I do say that like once I finish this, I'm not likely going to repurchase it. I think it's just a really nice foundation. There's nothing special about it. It's very nice. A lot of people like it, but I tried a lot of foundations and I didn't think there was anything that special about it. The thing that it's got going for it is that it's pretty good full coverage and the shade match is fantastic. So I run, you know, warm, as you can see, and it was actually a really great shade match. And actually I think it's a better shade match than the Prada. Medium warm 45. So it is warm toned. Here's the Louboutin 40 warm olive, and this is the one for Prada medium warm 45. And even though this is supposed to be a warm undertone, you can see even then it looks still light. Again, I know these are in glasses. This is a matte case, and then this is like a clear glass and shiny. But I have to say that I actually think that the Louboutin in MW40 is a better realistic shade match for me. The Prada one in MW45 is still not, I think it's still a little bit light, but it looks so beautiful on. I think this is, I just want to compare this to a recent beautiful luxury foundation that I've used, and I can do a foundation roundup and ranking if you want, let me know. But I think I would probably reach for the Louboutin much more than the Prada, just because it's more of like an everyday beautiful looking. It looks a little bit more natural, like a natural matte, but if I built it up 2 layers I could see it kind of getting to this point of Prada. Prada's like a really full coverage, full beat kind of very full coverage makeup, and I can feel it when I wear it. It's very comfortable, but there's like the coverage is super full coverage. So for me the Prada one isn't like an everyday foundation, and that's just my preference, whereas I think this is just more comfortable. I just feel like my skin looks like my skin but better, and it's really, really beautiful. The one thing that I would say, and I kept this on my hand on purpose even though it created a mess, again, this is the 35 neutral olive, this is the 40 N, and this is the 40 warm olive. So clearly there's a big jump. I could pass with this, but it was almost too gray cast. This warm olive is just a smidge too warm, and you can see where the shades really jump right here. So the only concern I would say is that as I lose my tan, it might look too warm or too orange. But I recently bought this e.l.f. blue corrector because I do have some foundations that are just a smidge too orange, but I love them so much I'm not going to get any other shade, because once it's warm they don't make usually like variations of warm, so I'd rather just tone it down because the undertone is correct. So once this gets too warm for me, I probably use this, but right now it's a great shade match. So I hope that's helpful. Definitely 40 warm olive is my best shade. You let me know. I'll do a side by side comparison. And you let me know which you prefer, the 40 warm olive or the 40 neutral. I tend to like the warm one because it doesn't wash me out, but some people have preferences and they want a brighter like center of the face, and that would be 40N, but again it shows a little bit too much gray cast and ashiness for my preference. Okay, I hope that was helpful, beauty fam. Remember to subscribe to my channel, it helps out engagement on my channel. Liking and commenting below really helps me out as well. And then as always, please be very kind with yourself and others, beauty fam, and just be you. Until the next video, take good care of yourself. Bye.